Hello there, everyone. Mediocre Otaku here, and today will be the final part of my Dragon Ball dubbing history series. So, this one's going to be shorter just because there's not nearly as much to talk about with GT, Kai, and Super as there were with Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. So, let's just get into this and finish up this little series. We're going to go chronologically here, much like we have in the past videos. So let's begin with Dragon Ball GT. Now, much like what happened with Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball, as I mentioned in their own respective videos, AB Group ordered an English dub to be produced by Blue Water Studios, which is in Canada. So, again, this was like what happened with Dragon Ball, where it wasn't Ocean Studios, but it was their sort of subsidiary, more budget friendly recording studio. From my understanding, this dub went into production pretty much as soon as Ocean Studios finished their dub of Dragon Ball Z. And that means that this dub was actually in production before Funimation's version of Dragon Ball GT. So there are a lot of differences between the two versions. It's an entirely different script. They actually refer to the Great Ape form as Uzaru, and the Shadow Dragons keep their original Japanese names, which is actually pretty interesting, I think. Since this dub went into production before Funimation's, that means that the Funimation exclusive episode, that was the first episode that they aired on Toonami in the US, does not exist in this version. Funimation basically decided that the initial hunt for the Black Star Dragon Balls wasn't as interesting as they wanted, so they created a whole new episode that begins with Goku and Trunks being captured on planet M2, and then the whole rest of the episode is basically just a flashback montage of everything that led up to that point. They basically just wanted to get through the stuff that they deemed boring as quickly as possible, but they didn't, obviously, like, they could not just start the series at planet M2 because that would have been super confusing. The Blue Water version also includes the original Japanese musical score, which Funimation, as you are probably aware of, decided to do their own thing and make it this sort of rap metal thing, which is very unfitting for the tone of GT, in my opinion. I always thought it was a weird decision on their part. That's basically all I have to say about GT. Some of the voice acting is not great, but the same could be said about Funimation's version. So you're gonna, there's pros and cons to each one. I think the opening song for this version is actually pretty cool. They basically took the original Japanese like instrumental track, but put a new vocal track over it, which is entirely different than the original Japanese one. It's like a completely different cadence, and I think it's actually really cool to hear this sort of familiar and then sort of brand new version of the song.
Fight with courage, fight with honor, fight on Dragon Ball Z. Fight with power, fight with spirit, fight on Dragon Ball Z.
There's not really much that I can say about the Ocean dub of Dragon Ball Z Kai because it was never actually released. Why wasn't it released? I don't think anyone really knows. The whole thing was recorded to presumably be aired in at least Canada, because of, like I mentioned in previous videos, a certain percentage of what they air on Canadian television has to be produced in Canada. But at some point along the way, they just decided to broadcast Funimation's versions instead, even though, from what I've heard from voice actors who worked on this, they dubbed the whole thing. It just seems like a huge waste of time and money. Sean Schimmel was actually aware of this dub. I guess he must have been in contact with some of the voice actors at Ocean Studio, and he did have some interesting things to say about it. Supposedly, this dub was going to have brand new music, which I don't know if that has anything to do with the whole copyright issue with the music from Yamamoto. I don't remember exactly when that whole thing went down. They probably wanted to produce a new score just to make it even more Canadian, which is with the reasoning behind them producing the whole new score for Dragon Ball Z. Just makes me wonder why they didn't do it for Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball GT as well, but whatever. Sean Schimmel also said that this dub would add in more cartoony sound effects, which is actually something that happened during Dragon Ball Z when Saban and the Ocean dub were and Funimation were all like together working together. I don't really know if this continued after Saban and Funimation sort of split with Ocean Studios and then AB Group came in, because I just haven't seen very much of the AB Group's Ocean dub. Even Scott McNeil, who is the voice actor for Piccolo in the Ocean dub, stated that they had finished dubbing Kai and that they were working on the final chapters portion. So it seems like there is a entire, completely unreleased dub of both the original run of Kai and the final chapters that is just sitting in a vault somewhere and might not ever see the light of day. There is, however, one thing that we can find for this dub, and that is the theme song that seemed like they were planning to use for it, which I will have playing prior to this whole thing as I do. To this day, this is the only thing that has been released relating to this dub. Everything else is just statements that people have made saying what the dub was going to be like. So there's not really any concrete proof for any of these claims, but it'd be weird for all these people to lie about this dub. Like, what would be the point of that? So you never know. Lost Dragon Ball media has popped up before, and it'll probably happen again. And since this is a more recent venture, I think the chances of this eventually surfacing are greater than the very shrouded in mystery 1987 dub of Curse of the Blood Rubies. But only time will tell. And lastly, we get to Dragon Ball Super. Now, Dragon Ball Super had a separate dub produced for Toonami Asia that was recorded by Bang Zoom Entertainment. I'd say that this dub is probably the second best known alternative dub, aside from obviously the Ocean dub. And I think that just largely has to do with Dragon Ball Super being much more recent than any of the other series, so that even people who aren't into this esoteric bullshit probably have some sort of knowledge of this dub at least existing. From what I've seen, people generally had mixed to negative opinions of this dub, which is a shame because there were some very talented voice actors working on this. Lex Lang portrayed Goku in this dub, and I do like Lex Lang, and he even got coaching from Sean Schimmel to help him improve his performance as Goku, but it just it didn't really work. A lot of people just didn't seem to be that into Lex Lang as Goku, and the script didn't really help matters either. It was much more sort of kid-friendly, I'd say, than Funimation's script. But what's really cool is that Wendy Lee, who voiced Bulma from way back in the Harmony Gold dub, reprised her role as Bulma in this, which that is just awesome. I'm so glad that they managed to do something like that. This dub only covered obviously the beginning of Dragon Ball Super up through the Resurrection F arc. There were rumors that there was going to be a second season, but I haven't seen anything at all to confirm that that's true, so I'm gonna assume that was all just a rumor and it never happened. Especially since I haven't found any sort of voice actor credits for like Kaba or Hit or anything. It's yeah, there's no way that this dub covered up through the Universe 6 arc. And that's gonna do it for all of the remaining alternative Dragon Ball dubs. We are finally done with this, and I can move on to something else. Exactly what I'll be doing after this, I don't exactly know. I have a few different ideas. I would very much like to talk about Astro Boy at some point. Gatchaman is another one I really want to talk about just because it's had so many different attempts to bring it over to America that were unsuccessful. And then there's also stuff like Devilman. I want to mostly talk about older stuff on here just because I'm much more interested in anime from like the 80s to the early 2000s. And I realize that I just listed stuff that's even earlier than the 1980s. I do plan on continuing this series though, so hopefully if you enjoyed these, you will continue to watch. I probably won't do too many more on Dragon Ball specifically, although it would be kind of interesting to talk about all the weird different DVD releases that specifically Dragon Ball Z has had, because there are a lot of them. But yeah, at this point I definitely want to sort of move away from Dragon Ball and talk about other stuff that I'm interested in. Hopefully you are too. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.